Hi, and welcome to the 2020 Dallas EEI internship presentation. My name is Patricio Boy, and I would like to start off by saying thank you for giving your time to hear about all the amazing things the 2020 interns have done this summer. But first, we want to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Like I said, my name is Patricio Boy. I'm a senior at Jesuit College Prep School in Dallas, and I'm hoping to pursue a career in medicine. I applied for the internship when my AP chemistry teacher told me about it, and I was elated to find out about an environmental science-based internship, which are two things that I'm very, very passionate about. I'm very excited to share with you all the fun things we did, and I hope you enjoy our presentation. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Emma Hancock. I'm a rising senior at Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, and I applied for EEI because I really love the environment and am interested in pursuing environmental science in the future. I feel like conservation is one of the most important things that we can teach other people right now and be a part of, so this has been a really great opportunity for me to learn more about it and really make a difference in my community.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Cartwright. I just graduated from Townview Tag and I will be attending Dartmouth College in the fall. I probably want to major in environmental science or government because I want to be involved in policy making for the environment or even be a lawyer for the environment. And I heard about this program when I got an email from my counselor, and me being so obsessed with the environment and obsessed with climate change, I knew I had to apply because it looked like a really unique opportunity, and it was, and I'm very glad to be a part of this team.
Hi, I'm Maisie. I was a senior last year and I've just graduated the Hockaday School, and next year I'll be going to USC as a freshman, so that's exciting. I joined EEI because in my future I really hope to be a marine ecologist, and I've always thought it's a really important part of ecology is understanding how humans interact with the system you're studying. So I thought EEI would be a good way to do that, and so far it has been, and I've learned a ton about our water systems and where we get water.
Hey guys, my name is Rohan Charukru, and I'm going to be a rising senior at the School of Science and Engineering at the Townview Magnet Center. I hope to pursue a degree in environmental engineering and eventually go to med school. I got into EEI through my love of environmental conservation work and water conservation work. My teacher introduced me to the EEI Water Conservation Summit, and through my love of hands-on projects, I ended up winning the summit, and that guaranteed me a spot in the internship. So far, I think it's been a great experience for me to learn more about my future in environmental conservation, and I'm so thankful for this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I'm a rising senior at the Hockaday School. In the future, I would love to study biological sciences or computer science and perhaps pursue a medical career. I applied to be a Dallas EEI intern because of my love for the environment. I think it's incredibly important to take care of our Earth, and I aim to use my experience as an intern to make a change and inspire others to do so as well.
I'm Luke Schneider, a senior at Holland Park High School, and I got into the internship because I have a passion for the outdoors and environmental sciences, and I hope to pursue environmental sciences as a career.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I'm a senior at the School of Science and Engineering Magnet, and my career interest is a chemical engineer. I applied to EEI through the EEI Summit, which is actually a challenge in which they ask you to engineer/design a mechanism which can help with water conservation. I was very drawn to the summit and the internship because I have a love for activism and conservationism, and I wanted to combine that with my love for engineering and science.
Hi, I'm Bennett Handler, and I'm one of your 2020 EEI interns. In the future, I hope to go into the field of therapy and possibly even psychology. What EEI has taught me and given me as an experience as a whole, it's been incredible, and I hope that with the experience and knowledge which I have now through this internship, that I will be able to go out and aid those in need and educate those who don't fully understand all the consequences of not saving water. Thank you.
Hi, I am MK. I am a rising freshman at Texas A&M University, and this is my second summer doing the EEI summer internship. I loved it so much last year. I applied because I saw a flyer in my school's guidance office that said paid high school internship working with water conservation, and it ended up being so much more than that. I had a great time, and I'm so happy to be back. I am going to be a spatial science major at A&M in the fall, so I love working with GIS and maps, and I've had the opportunity to do that with this internship and last summer's internship, and I'm really happy to be here. So now that you've met all of us, let's travel back in time to the origins of the water conservation movement. Although the American westward expansion has had what I think is a very cool and dramatic name, it had pretty dire consequences for the environment. 19th century Americans saw nature as inexhaustible, leading to mass extinction of native species and extreme water shortages. By the early 20th century, it was clear that A, the pioneers had really messed up, and B, something had to be done to keep people from guzzling up all of our natural resources. This sparked a new movement, at least for Americans. Indigenous people have been doing this since day one. Water conservation. That is, a consolidated effort to use less water more efficiently. Here are some of the major advances we've made in the water conservation movement. In the 1910s, the Federal Water Investigation and Sanitation Station, the National Waterways Commission, and the Corps of Engineers were tasked with reporting on water usage and pollution throughout the country. In the 1920s, the National Coast Anti-Pollution League was founded by Gifford Pinchot, a famous conservationist. Because treatment methods were nowhere near as advanced as they are today, water quality was even more deeply intertwined with water conservation. In the 1930s, one of the first water conservation bills was passed, the Soil Conservation and Domestic Allotment Act. In 1936, this act regulated the use of farmland and nearby water resources during the Dust Bowl. In the 1940s, water conservation became encouraged on a wider scale due to the war. Factories needed the water to make munitions and planes, and posters urged citizens to protect production and use water wisely. In the 1950s, after a devastating drought, the Texas government established the Texas Water Development Board, which set into place water conservation measures to prevent future shortages. In the 1960s, the Land and Water Conservation Fund was established, dedicated to protecting natural lands and the U.S. water supply. In the 1970s, the Corps of Engineers performed its most in-depth water conservation study yet, an extensive survey of water demand and a proposed national procedure for drought management. In the 1980s, water-efficient landscape designs such as xeriscape were developed, suggesting for the first time a long-term solution for overwatering instead of a temporary drought measure. In the 1990s, the U.S. Energy Policy Act established national efficiency requirements for plumbing fixtures, one of the first pieces of national legislation to do so. Despite all of these victories, America still struggles with water conservation. None of these measures address the root of the problem, the fact that most people don't learn about the importance of saving water, so it doesn't matter to them. And that's where EEI comes in. Now you might be wondering, what even is EEI? Jonathan and Emma can answer that.
Thanks, MK. Now, fast forward to almost present day. With more people on the globe, there's a greater demand for water, but we aren't getting any more water. So water conservation education programs start popping up. One of those being Dallas EEI. Now, the Dallas Environmental Education Initiative was developed after a partnership was formed between the City of Dallas and the University of North Texas in an effort to reduce Dallas's very high water usage. In fact, Dallas has some of the highest water usage in the state of Texas.
The initiative falls under the Dallas Water Conservation Division, which has several other programs as well, such as New Throne for Your Home, industrial, commercial, and institutional programs, licensed irrigators, minor plumbing repair, and citywide ordinances. Unlike these other programs, EEI is education and outreach based, mainly focusing their education efforts on elementary school students, but they also have programs more applicable to middle and high school students as well.
Welcome to an elementary school classroom like any other. The Environmental Education Initiative visits elementary school classrooms, like this one, from all around Dallas. Maybe you've had their lessons at your school. EEI has different lessons for different grade levels, such as the water cycle for first graders or an aquifer lesson for fourth grade. Every lesson, however, has the same core of teaching people about the importance of water, water conservation, and their ability to make a difference. The students commit to saving water by signing commitment cards. See this first grader learning about the need to save water? He goes home and tells his family about it, encouraging the whole family unit to conserve water. This is called intergenerational transfer, since the lessons from EEI reach more than just the pupil. Thum, thum, thum. The whole family saves water.
Middle schoolers are given more advanced lessons, such as these exhibit modules that act as a museum on wheels. So what if I just stopped drinking water? That would work. Sometimes they ask snarky questions, but it actually leads to a conversation that sparks a little bit of conservation in their minds. They then are asked to complete commitment cards at the end of the lesson, and if they would like to make a personal goal to save water, they will write it down, and this reinforces the idea of conservation more for them. In this example of a student card, they pledge to take shorter showers and not run a lot of water. Although sometimes at school they seem stubborn, many find themselves changing their habits as soon as they get home because of the conversations they remember. And just like that, we might have saved a little bit more water.
EEI does not have lessons for high schoolers. Instead, they have programs. The Environmental Summit is a program where teams of Dallas high school and middle school students propose experimental projects that foster urban water conservation. The Team Waterworks is a volunteer program that allows students to serve as ambassadors for Dallas EEI and participate in events and activities throughout Dallas, as shown here. This video was made possible by viewers like you. Oh, and by the Dallas EEI Summer Internship, the final opportunity EEI offers to high schoolers. The internship lets high school students, such as myself, learn about water conservation research and compile data for EEI for the upcoming year.
The last program that EEI offers is the Professional Development Program for teachers and adults. This not only teaches the adults about water conservation and the importance through giving them the same lessons that their students learn, but it provides the tools for the teachers to share this information with their students later on, allowing them to further incorporate it into their lessons.
So we talked about the internship, but isn't COVID making things different this year? Brianna and MK have the story.
Hi, I am MK. This is my second summer doing the EEI internship. I think that my first impression of the internship last year was how early I had to get up. I live really close to my high school, so I was not used to having to get up super early to be anywhere on time, but that was not the case with City Hall. We had to meet there every day at 8 a.m. and it took just forever. So I had to get up super early and in order to be on time. The plus side of that was that we had time to wake up in the van and we had time to get to know each other, which was really fun. We played 20 questions and listened to music and Miss G's audiobooks. It was like a mini road trip every day, and I really like road trips, so that was fun. And we did lose a little bit of travel time and transportation, but not enough that it made a big difference. We definitely made up for it in productivity once we got to UNT.
Getting to work from home is great for getting to sleep in, but not so good for avoiding hitting the snooze button. However, moving the internship online actually allows students with transportation issues to have an equal opportunity to do well in the internship. There's no more worrying about students with transportation challenges being late. Not only that, cutting out the 2-hour drive each day allows for a lot more time to work. The only downside is most of our bonding has to be done in a group chat.
Last year, we mostly ate at the UNT cafeteria, which was amazing, and other times we would eat at the food trucks by City Hall. Again, so good, no complaints here. As much as I do love being at home and eating with my family, nothing really beats eating the UNT mac and cheese when you're surrounded by your internship friends.
While we didn't get to enjoy UNT's world-famous cafeteria food, there is something nice about getting to eat your lunch on your couch, watching your favorite TV show in your pajama pants. Or was it just me who did that?
Because we were working at the UNT campus, we had access to a lot of special information and technology, like the City of Dallas water data and UNT CSAM or GIS labs. We got to do a lot more in-depth analysis, especially concerning statistics, and we were all on the same Wi-Fi network, so there were no issues with connectivity.
You see MK's screen? That's about what Bennett's screen looked like anytime he tried to talk on Zoom. EEI was kind enough to provide us with awesome Chromebooks so we could get all our work done from home. However, Wi-Fi can be unreliable sometimes, so oftentimes slow internet connections and tech malfunction would cause us interns to be late to meetings or have trouble hearing or speaking during meetings. The chat function was always our ultimate solution. Finally, we did take advantage of the online ArcGIS program, but we didn't get the full benefits of the desktop program.
Okay, so it is easier to work collaboratively when you're in the same room as the people that you're collaborating with. Last year, we were all together all the time, so our group work got done really efficiently.
Not being on site meant we had to do a lot more independent work. However, our mentors gave us a great support and communication system and guaranteed help anytime we needed it.
Last summer, all of our field trips were in person, which was amazing. I am a super hands-on learner, so I love being able to shoot the water cannon at Bachman and tour the Zero Energy Lab, and of course, smell the wastewater at Central. They were all very impactful experiences for me.
Unfortunately, we didn't get any in-person field trips, and we didn't get the chance to meet Central's turtles in person. However, any experiences that were lost were traded up, as we got to see more of each facility, including the forbidden employees-only areas. It only furthered our understanding of the plants. Not only that, we got to do more field trips and more presentations than we did last year.
Even though each style of internship came with its own set of challenges, both were amazing opportunities. I'm so grateful for the work that EEI does every day, and I'm thankful for the city of Dallas for making it all possible. If I could do this a third summer in a row, I totally would. Now I'm going to hand things over to Luke and Bennett, who are going to tell you more about the awesome field trips that we took.
Hey, thanks, MK and Brianna. So we took some exciting virtual field trips. Even though we were over Zoom, it was still an amazing experience. So the Bachman Water Treatment Plant and the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant are the two plants we visited. These two plants are in charge of cleaning and providing water for the entire city of Dallas. The Bachman Water Treatment Plant is in charge of cleaning and treating Dallas's water, and the treatment plant is way more comprehensive than I previously thought. So many things are going on all the time, and the chemicals and the people there, because the plant's open 24/7, 365 days a year. And one of the coolest things I found out was how there's computers that monitor everything. The fluctuation of chemicals, how much they're putting in, the temperature changes, and they record all that data and hand it to the scientists so that the scientists can know what happened all the time. Now, Bennett's going to talk a little about the Central.
So Central Wastewater Treatment Plant was our second virtual tour of the year. With our expert named Daniel Halter, he explained how all the chemicals in the wastewater treatment plant are very necessary to allow us to get clean drinking water. But it's also important to have natural ways to clean the water, such as Central Wastewater Treatment Plant's trickling water filtration system, which simply allows the water to become clean without adding too many chemicals. One of the most interesting things I found about the tour was that it was actually one of the earliest founded Dallas water treatment plants, because the land was bought in 1912, and by 1915, the plant was up and running. The budget for such a big facility, such as the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant, according to Dan, is around $27 million, which was way more than I ever thought it would be. Dan was so interesting explaining how animals were able to get into the waterway system, including turtles, which was mind-boggling to me. But what was your most interesting part of Bachman?
There were so many, it's hard to pick just one. But one thing that I thought was super cool was how they had to create this chemical called ozone, which is basically oxygen, but there's 3 of them. And they have to create it on site because it's so highly flammable and explosive and hard to transport. So they created it on site just to clean out the water. Another thing that I thought was really cool was how they used natural elements to clean the water, such as sedimentation. What about you? What was your most interesting thing about Central?
Well, for me, the most interesting thing about Central was how old it was, because it was one of the earliest founded Dallas water treatment plants in Texas. The land was bought in 1912, and by 1915 it was up and running. And although they only have around $27 million a year for their budget, they're still able to stay open 24/7 since 1915, which means that you're always able to get clean drinking water no matter what time of the year it is.
That's awesome. Plus, they have turtles too, which were great.
That's true. We did see Bob the Turtle.
We went on 2 great virtual field trips and learned all about water conservation and how our water is cleaned in our own city. And before the internship and before the virtual tours, I really had no idea how our water was cleaned and all the stages that it has to go through, such as the ozone, the coagulation, the fluctuation, the sedimentation, the filtration, then the disinfection, before the water even gets to us. It's a nonstop process.
Yeah. Like Luke said, it's a nonstop process, and I personally had no idea how much work and how much effort had to go into cleaning every single bit of water that we use, which is why it's so important for us to be saving all the water that we can.
Dan and Chase also did a great job accommodating to us by going over Zoom because we couldn't be there in person due to COVID-19. And they were able to put on an amazing presentation, and it was really enjoyable. I had a lot of fun. What about you?
I had a ton of fun. They were my two favorite virtual tours of the year, and honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to forget them.
I don't either.
Thank you so much for listening, and now on to Rohan and Karen talking about our presentations.
Thanks, Luke and Bennett. I'm Karen.
And I'm Rohan, and we're going to talk about the amazing presentations we were lucky to experience throughout this internship.
So let's do this. So why did we attend these presentations in the first place? As we know, all aspects of our internship are related to water conservation, and through these presentations, we got to speak with biology professors and graduate students from UNT and City of Dallas employees who are experts on water conservation and water quality. So we were able to gain a better understanding of the role water conservation plays in today's society, especially in Dallas.
First, we had a presentation with Dr. Roberts, a professor in environmental toxicology at UNT. Now, he talked about using fish as bioindicators, how oil spills and mercury can affect that fish, and even showed us his research in his lab.
We learned that oil can severely harm a fish's eyesight and lungs, but that makes them a great bioindicator of water quality. So, Rohan, what did you think was interesting?
Well, personally, my favorite part of the presentation was Dr. Roberts took us on a virtual tour of his lab and his research. As a true science fan, I really enjoyed learning about his process of taking a biopsy of the fish and then analyzing their RNA.
I agree. I also liked his experiments with the mahi-mahi, which he placed in a container with black and white lines, but as the container spun faster, the fish couldn't see the lines anymore.
Yeah, through this experiment, he could really determine the quality of the water from the damage to the fish's eyesight. But man, those fish must get really dizzy.
Yeah, I bet they do.
And Dr. Roberts also went on to explain how the concentration of mercury can actually increase as it goes higher up the food web.
Yeah, we learned that we have to take care of our aquatic life because they impact us too.
Yeah, we also learned that the research and the work done in the lab with bioindicators is a large process. I don't know about you, Karen, but that just makes me more excited to be part of a lab one day.
I also think that Dr. Roberts' presentation tied in nicely to what we learned about water quality from Mr. Alfonso Marua, the City of Dallas Water Quality Manager, and Ms. Charlotte Patience, the Environmental Coordinator.
Yeah, and I think the coolest part of the presentation was when they explained the difference between bottled water and tap water. I went all my life thinking that bottled water was a lot better than tap water, but man, was I wrong.
Yeah, it was interesting to learn that a lot of bottled water actually comes from the tap. The biggest difference is that bottled water generally doesn't contain chlorine as a disinfectant, which is why some people think it tastes better.
Yeah, it really changed my outlook on water treatment and what type of water I'm drinking every day. But Karen, what did you think stood out to you in the presentation?
I thought it was cool that their watershed management team collaborates with the Texas Clean Rivers organization. They test for a whole variety of chemicals, pesticides, and metals in the water.
Yeah, I didn't know that before the presentation. But I think the most shocking part of the presentation, in a good way of course, was just the amount of time and effort they put into managing over 5,000 miles of pipes and over 3 large lakes.
Yeah, I agree. I really appreciate the time and effort they put into the work because without them, we wouldn't have our clean water.
Yeah, water quality is a huge part of almost every major industry that I can think of.
That reminds me of Dr. Kennedy's presentation. He's the Regents Professor of Biology at UNT, and he and three of his grad students, Sabrina, Maddie, and Jennifer, talked about their water quality research.
Yeah, Dr. Kennedy studied aquatic insects to monitor changes in water quality, which I thought was super interesting because I'd never heard of it being done before.
Personally, I am not a big fan of insects, but it was cool when he showed us some under his microscope. Those are all bioindicators because they're sensitive to water pollution.
Yeah, all the graduate students' research was also interesting as well. For example, Sabrina's research in Chile, she found that the introduction of salmonoids actually caused aquatic insects known as scrapers to grow up to be smaller adults. Who knew?
Yeah, I was also impressed by Maddie's research on the concentration of mercury in orbiting spiders, especially since she let those spiders crawl around on her hands. I could never do that.
Yeah, and I think her research connected a lot nicely with Dr. Roberts' research, and she found as the size of the spider increased, the mercury concentration also increased.
With these organisms being affected by mercury contamination, it reminds us of how important it is to protect our bodies of water.
Yeah, and according to Jennifer's research on farm ponds, cattle can also have an effect on water quality. She hypothesized that the ponds with cattle presence will actually have a poorer water quality.
Yeah, I think it was a great experience learning about their different research projects, and I hope to conduct similar research in the future.
I agree. This presentation gave me a newfound appreciation for aquatic insects and their role in water conservation.
That reminds me of the presentation from Ms. Holly Holt-Torres, the Water Conservation Manager for the City of Dallas. What did you think about her presentation, Rohan?
Well, I thought it was super cool to learn about how the city of Dallas is a leader in water conservation, as it was the first in Texas to actually have a public water campaign.
Yeah, Ms. Torres walked us through 3 main responsibilities of her team: leak detection and repair utility, policy and procedure, and incentive-based programming.
Yeah, and I was super impressed to learn that the unaccounted water from the main pipes is actually below 10%.
Yeah, that's an amazing statistic. I was also impressed by the number of programs there are to promote water conservation, such as the Water-Wise Landscape events and the new Throne for Your Home program.
Yeah, and I also thought that the policies of mandatory time of day watering and twice weekly watering are great ways to conserve some water.
Yeah, I definitely realized the importance of having different methods to promote water conservation and educating people about the misconception that we will always have clean drinking water.
This is why programs like Dallas EEI are so important, since they provide water conservation education to schools all around Dallas.
For instance, EEI gives students tools like this brushing your teeth timer and shower timer.
These are great ways to stimulate discussions in households about water conservation.
Overall, we were lucky to have these unique opportunities to interact with so many experts.
Well, thank you for joining our segment. Now, Jonathan and Maisie will talk about the interns' research articles.
Thank you so much to Karen and Rohan for that great summary of the presentations we got to watch. Now, Jonathan and I are going to discuss the articles and background research us interns read and completed. To start with, here's some clips from a video Patricio and I made about the articles we read about the use of water quality bioindicators. As you all know, the quality of the water we drink is of the utmost importance. This is why it's so important for us to have functional, comprehensive ways to test the quality of both our drinking water and the freshwater ecosystems being endangered by anthropogenic factors. The practice of using bioindicators includes everything from analyzing the proportions and variations of different species at a site to directly analyzing the levels of pollutants found in tissues collected from the organism. Many different species have been utilized as bioindicators, and the 3 articles we'll be discussing today each analyze the benefits of different species. Overall, what these 3 articles have demonstrated is that the use of bioindicators is extremely regionally specific. While in Chinese rivers, diatoms may be the most effective indicator, in the rivers of Greece, macroinvertebrates are the best choice. However, the real-time monitoring of water quality using fish and crawfish as bioindicators are reviews, assessment of fish and crawfish as water quality indicators in a laboratory setting could potentially be of particular interest in water treatment facilities. The author even suggests that they could be implemented at certain stages within water treatment facilities as an extra safeguard to prevent toxic water from being sent to people's homes.
Thanks, Maisie. So, obviously, we need water to be clean. One way to clean it is by reusing it. But what exactly is water reuse? And what's the public's opinion on it? Let's jump in. Luke and Brianna read and deconstructed 3 articles for the other interns. After summarizing different types of water reuse, the first article asserts that a water reuse program should be economically beneficial and financially viable, can consider being centralized, which means it probably uses potable water, which is easier to reuse, and should be able to overcome negative public perception. In our second article, in which a survey that assessed people's behaviors and attitudes towards water and water reuse found that certain demographics, such as people who lived in an area with a drought or people who had a higher level of education, were more supportive of water reuse programs. The final article discussed emerging organic compounds, EOCs, in the water cycle. EOCs come from beauty products, pharmaceuticals, plastics, and more, and while little research has been conducted on them, science has found EOCs to be hormone disruptors and even carcinogenic. So, why does this matter? Well, if EEI's goal is to save water, then water reuse is a way to achieve that. These articles can help us understand water reuse in detail, understand public opinion on water reuse, and potentially help us change that opinion. Water quality is a big component of EEI, so unclean, EOC-filled water is something that EEI could do more research on. Back to you, Jonathan? Yep, it's just me again. So clearly, people's opinions about water reuse programs are important. Similarly, society's attitude towards water is vitally important to its conservation, which is why 3 research articles set out to see what influences a person's attitude towards water. The first two articles that Karen and I read and explained surveyed Australians who had and had not experienced drought about their behaviors and attitudes towards water conservation. The first article found that experiencing drought, or knowing others who had experienced it, affected people's water conservation behaviors. An interesting finding of the second article was that people who felt confident that they could save water actually used more of it. The final article described a survey that asked American citizens to rate the importance of water for different uses, and then assessed their actual water consumption. It found that demographics, respondents' sources of information, their opinions about the government's role in protecting water, and more all affected the likelihood of a person to adopt water conservation behaviors. These articles are important as they can inform targeted approaches to water management campaigns, like EEIs. Publicly committing oneself towards saving water, putting oneself in the shoes of a person who does not have access to clean water, and more can all influence whether a person adopts water conservation behaviors. In order for a water conservation campaign to work, however, we need to understand what shapes attitudes and behaviors. Let's take it to the DMs. Hey, are you busy?
If you consider scrolling through EEI's Instagram being busy.
We were just talking about attitudes, right?
Yeah?
Let's delve into that more. Can I tell you a little bit about a research article the other interns and I read for our EEI 2020 summer internship?
Sure, what was it called?
It was titled The Role of Theory in Developing Effective Health Communications. The article was about people's behaviors, intentions, and attitudes, and how we can use those things to create public health intervention campaigns.
Cool. So what did the article find?
Well, first it condensed many behavioral theories into one integrative model. Let me send some pics. It basically looked at everything that influences a person's behavior. As you can see, a person is very likely to perform a behavior if they have the intention to perform it, they have the physical ability to perform it, and there are no environmental constraints towards performing it.
But what makes a person intend to perform it?
Good question. The model suggests that attitudes, perceived norms, and self-efficacy all influence a person's intentions. So, a person may intend to do something if their attitude towards it is favorable, it is normal in their society to do it, and they believe they have the power to conduct such an action.
So, why does this matter?
Well, EEI applied this theory to their education initiative in an article we read titled Empirical Evidence in Support of a Research-Informed Water Conservation Education Program. They adapted the integrative model to their situation. Take a look.
Too much information.
Let me break it down. We can see that leaving water on while brushing teeth is under the background influence column, because many of the students EEI met with already left their water on. EEI set out to change that behavior. The only way to change the students' behavior was to change their intentions and attitudes towards saving water.
So, how did they do that?
After teaching the students about the importance of water conservation, thereby changing attitudes, the educators gave the students commitment cards. The students put their name on the card, which asked them to promise to turn off the tap while brushing their teeth.
Oh, so signing the card signaled the students' intentions to save water.
Exactly! The students had the intention, the physical ability to turn off the tap, and there were no environmental constraints, so theoretically they should have turned it off and saved us all some water.
Did they?
Well, EEI had to conduct a study to make sure they had constants and that confounding variables were accounted for, but you'll learn about their experiment later in this video.
Don't leave me in suspense.
Sorry, dude.
As I'll discuss with Luke later on, social media is one of the most effective ways to sway people's opinion in the modern day. Emma and Bennett read and presented these articles about the most effective campaigning strategies and water conservation during the 2018 drought in California. This study grouped pro-conservation media into 12 categories and then distributed them to people to gauge their overall effectiveness. Ultimately, these studies concluded that the most effective way to convince people to conserve water was to advertise the negative effects of wasting water. Additionally, the study found that actually over-advertising had a negative effect on people's conservation behaviors. That is, if they were doing too much and too persistent of advertising, people would conserve less due to their negative emotions associated with it. Using this information, Bennett and Emma brainstormed several ways we can develop our social media presence in order to advertise conservation behaviors. They proposed distributing art by locals that promoted conservation, and even things like engaging memes to encourage younger people and kids to conserve water as well. Later on, when Luke and I present on the content us interns have created for EEI, you'll see how we incorporated what we learned in these articles into the content we made.
Maps, data, scale bars. What do these three words have in common? They all relate to GIS. MK and Rohan summarized 3 GIS-related articles for the other interns. In the first article, they gave a history of GIS, which, by the way, stands for Geographic Information Systems. Since GIS can monitor watershed characteristics, model precipitation data, estimate citywide erosion, and more, it is very pertinent to EEI's goals. The second article discussed using GIS to recommend a sustainable development plan for the Purna watershed in India, where there exists the risk of drought. Mapping the slope, flow direction, drainage, rainfall, etc. in and around the Purna watershed can help inform a wiser development plan. The third article detailed a study in which high-resolution imagery of land in Utah was used with GIS to identify turf grass, trees, and shrubs. Then, using water billing data, the study found that areas with tree cover used significantly less water, automated water systems were the big water wasters, and more. GIS may be a mapmaker's dream, but why does EEI need it? Well, as Brianna will introduce to you in a moment, not only does GIS allow us to present EEI's research in a visually stunning manner, but also GIS has allowed us to layer different maps on top of each other so we can see where EEI has conducted their research education programs and where they have not. And with that, we hand it over to Brianna.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you about GIS, or Geographic Information System. This is a program which allows users to capture and analyze spatial and geographic data via maps. Using this system, one can analyze extensive sets of data and present them in a clear and understandable way. The program offers all kinds of different effects and functions. For example, you can add layers to a map to make it a multi-function map. Or you can add filters to single out certain aspects of a map. In a map of natural disasters, I can filter it to only show wildfires. In addition, certain points can be made clickable to unveil more information once they are clicked. In a map of schools EEI has not visited, one could add an effect to click a school and show more information like the name of the school, number of students, and more. To start learning about the program, research assistant Craig gave us a presentation on GIS and assigned us 2 assignments. Explore a map and get started with ArcGIS Online. These assignments helped us to get a feel for what GIS is and how to operate it. Then we chose independent lessons to complete. For example, I chose to do a tutorial on an app which tracks natural disasters close to a company's facilities to make sure they are not in danger. These independent lessons helped us to grow in our confidence in GIS and see what all it can be used for. We were then able to apply this software to the internship by using it to map a variety of datasets related to Dallas that you'll see later. We can continue using this software to help us in future research as EEI educates more schools, expands, and continues to collect information on environmental education.
60% of all home water usage goes to making your yard green. How ridiculous.
Hey, did you guys know that a running toilet can actually waste over 200 gallons of water a day?
Did you know that leaving the water running while you brush your teeth can waste up to 1,000 gallons of water a year? Turn off the water when you brush your teeth. Help save water.
So why are we here?
Well, we're here to promote water conservation. Obviously.
Yeah, but we do have 2 specific goals.
And what would those be?
Well, first we have to help define EEI's research areas for next year.
And second, we're here to build EEI's online presence so kids at home can still understand the importance of saving water. So what do we have to research?
Well, EEI has to determine where to target their lessons so that we can try to conserve the most water.
Patricia is going to tell you a little bit more about what we've done in the past and how we can move forward.
At the beginning of EEI's high school summer internship, the program first looked at the effectiveness of education versus marketing. EEI defined 3 areas of studies: one, a combination of education and marketing; the second, solely education; and the third, a control. EEI found that the education area had a decrease in water consumption and determined that education potentially influences water usage. EEI decided to focus on the effect of education in future research. EEI then defined 2 new large research areas to educate. Area 1 had less than 2% of the population served, meaning that EEI had educated there, and Area 2 had greater than 2% of the population served. EEI saw that the average water use in Area 2 was significantly lower than Area 1, saving about 89 gallons per month per house, and this meant that the potential water savings in Area 2 would be about 3.7 million gallons served per month and about 45 million gallons of water for 1 year. Wanting to take their research to the next level, EEI chose to saturate, meaning all grade levels were taught 4 schools in the 25224 zip code during the 2012-2013 school year. The water usage from the 2012-2013 school year was significantly lower than the year before education by about 502 gallons per month per house. This meant that the potential savings for 1 year would be about 30 million gallons of water. The EEI team felt the next step would be to explore if there would be more water savings by returning to an already saturated school. EEI chose Henderson and Barbara Jordan Elementaries, which were already saturated, and kept going back to Henderson each school year until 2018, each time visiting 1 more grade, but they did not return to Barbara Jordan. For the next step, EEI wants to confirm this conclusion and attempt to replicate the study in a higher water usage area in Dallas. EEI would like to see if saturating a school they've never visited before in a high water usage area will produce significant water savings. Emma is going to explain this year's research question and target areas.
Because of COVID's interruption of last year's plan, our research question this year is very similar, so that we can continue that research. So what is that question? Well, there are 2. First, what area of Dallas is in most need of water conservation education based on household water usage data, and specifically what zip codes? Second, what elementary schools should EEI target in those areas for future outreach and research? When looking at determining an area, there are factors that the EEI team has to take into account. 1, high water use area. Number 2, it has to be a public school because elementary schools have a specific school zone, which makes the results easier to be monitored. As we can see here, there are a lot of schools in Dallas, and that makes a lot of school zones available to be measured. These schools can be monitored using GIS and water data from the city of Dallas. Number 3, a school that EEI has never been to. It helps to start with a clean slate so that the research isn't jeopardized by the schools that have already received education. Here we can see how many schools have already been visited by EEI, so that narrows down our choices for our target areas. And number 4, 2 schools within the same zip code, 1 to be a control and 1 to be an intervention school. This helps identify the variables and make sure that they are all the same within that zip code. Rohan will cover this later. Considering all those factors, looking at the water usage map made last year and working with the EEI team, we found that council districts 10 and 11 had high water usage and also low EEI intervention, making them perfect for EEI to target. Within the districts, we have identified 3 potential zip codes that match our research criteria that we just talked about. Looking at this map, you can see we have chosen zip codes 75248, 75243, and 75238. Due to the fact that the zip code 75248 has the highest water usage of the 3, we have indicated that this would be our primary zip code for EEI to target. EEI would be focusing on the schools Prestonwood Elementary and Spring Creek Elementary, which are the only 2 schools in the zip code that fit all of our criteria. As secondary choices, EEI would like to research Adelia Creek Elementary and Forest Lane Academy, or Wallace Elementary and White Rock Elementary. The former pair in zip code 75243 and the latter pair in zip code 75238. Both are in Council District 10. Now that we've decided what areas to target, we now need to look at the variables that might affect this research, which will be up to Rohan.
So now that we know what we're researching, we can move on to the second goal, making EEI's online platform bigger and better.
But wait, why exactly are we focusing online?
Yeah, focusing on social media may be a good idea, Luke. You're always on your phone.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Thank you, Emma and Rohan, for that introduction about why social media is so important. I just want to sort of reinforce how important it is, especially right now during this pandemic when we're all stuck at home. Right now, social media is really our only way to connect to the outside world and all our friends. So it's only becoming a more and more important part of our everyday life.
So social media is so important, especially for a company such as EEI, to be able to get the word out about water conservation and reach mass groups of people during the lockdown and after the lockdown. It's a great way for people to be able to come onto the website and learn about water conservation in their own homes.
So because of this, we've been making media about our experiences at the internship, as well as making some more content for the EEI's online website. So the EEI had a lot of existing content on their website, especially lessons for younger kids. But what we've been working to do is making some new videos with more information, such as some things about specific water topics, as well as refilming some of their existing lessons to give more variety to the website. We've also been making infographics about these lessons, etc. And then we've also been making content about the field trips we've gone on that Luca and Bennett were talking about earlier, to the Bachman water treatment plant as well as the Central water treatment plant, and content about the presentations we've been getting from Dr. Roberts and Dr. Kennedy, etc., just to share what we've gotten out of this internship with the world.
And we have some fantastic interns who are working and putting on amazing social media, from art, videos, pictures, blog content, and even some great dance moves by our great intern, Jonathan. The interns have done an amazing job producing social media content for EEI to put out on all of their platforms, such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the EEI website. The goal was to create a lesson in different types of content for EEI to be able to put out and spread their social media presence. Social media is such a great way to connect with people because it's such a broad reach, and it's a great way to spread the word on water conservation. So some of the great content the interns have been working on and put out, such as Emma's artwork, a great video by Maisie, a lesson the kids can learn and do at home by Luke, an awesome infographic in both Spanish and English by Patricio, a great post about the water cycle and the water cycle bracelet by Bennett, an amazing blog about Dr. Kennedy's presentation by Karen, an awesome informational weather report by Brianna, a super cool infographic that's also in Spanish and English by Jonathan, and so much more. The interns have made some amazing content that's not only informational, but also fun, funny, and exciting. It helps to spread the word about water conservation and connect with kids, not only in high school, but younger and older, connects with a way broader spectrum of people. All of this hard work will be able to expand the social media presence of EEI, as well as connect and teach more people about water conservation and the importance of it.
Us interns also collaborated to create a weekly water news update. This would help summarize what we did every week of the program. We also included several educational segments, such as MK's Water News, Luke's Water Facts, and Rohan's Global Perspectives on Water. Now, next up, we're going to hear some concluding statements from the interns about how EEI has affected our lives.
Again, my name is Patricio, and I'm so incredibly grateful for this opportunity. This internship has given me the resources and facilities to educate others on the importance of the environment and saving water, and it has shown me so many creative and fun ways to engage other people, especially in my own daily life. It has given me the chance to create actual content to help others. I appreciate this opportunity to participate, and I hope to continue helping EEI in the future.
So while EEI has taught me the science behind conservation and water quality and aquatic insects and how water treatment plants work and different types of pollution, all different types of things that I did not know before. I feel like the most important part of EEI and what it's brought to my life is how to communicate these to other people and how to really put it in perspective for the general public why conservation is important and why we need to do it.
The EEI internship taught me many different things. I am much better at making and producing videos and PowerPoint slides now. And I also learned that I am not good at teaching a hip-hop dance through Zoom, but that's okay. And then before this internship, I always thought science was kind of devoid of emotion, just cold, hard facts. But EEI, I thought, really brought that emotion to the science. I mean, we met people who loved their job, who got really unique opportunities, and did some research that was vital to our society, and then we got the opportunity to make content that taught people about that. And I thought that was great because we were really blending passion with science. And so it was a really unique opportunity, And finally, EEI taught me just how important water is.
Hi, so it's Maisie again, to tell you guys about what EEI has taught me. And while obviously it's taught me a lot about how important it is to conserve water, going back to what I said in my introduction about how I care about marine ecology a lot, it's taught me so much about that I never thought I'd learn here, like ways that animals can be used to monitor the water quality, and then also just sort of the whole ecosystem of like a small stream or river. I'd never really thought about how important macroinvertebrates were until this program, but I've really learned so much.
Throughout this internship, I was able to learn so many different skills, including video making and effective presentations. But what I think was most important was the fact that EEI brought me out of my comfort zone and got me to really connect with individuals interested in the field of water conservation. Just to name a few, we got to go through presentations from highly qualified individuals. We got to make our own social media and lessons, which was really cool because I got to learn that I'm actually interested in that and that I can actually make an impact on sharing my experiences with others. We even got to do mock presentations where we got to learn about more how I can improve as a presenter, and how I'm characterized as a presenter and what makes me influential. And so overall, EEI has basically given me the confidence and the skills necessary to pursue a career in environmental conservation. I'm so thankful for this experience. Thank you, Ms. Vladimir. Thank you, Ms. G. Thank you, Craig and Crystal, and everyone who presented. I'm so thankful.
Through this internship, I learned about so many different aspects about water conservation. By virtually touring treatment plants and listening to presentations from experts on water conservation and water quality, I grew more appreciative of the time and effort it takes to get clean drinking water to our homes and the important relationship between nature and water quality. I even learned a new skill, creating geographic information systems. So thank you to Ms. G, Ms. Vladimir, Crystal, and Craig for their guidance throughout the entire internship. It's been a blast.
This internship has meant so much to me. Before the internship, I wasn't aware of how much water I was wasting, and now I am. Now when I do the dishes or do laundry, I try to do it all at once to not waste as much water. I've also been wearing my bracelet that says I'm a water saver, and I plan to continue to wear it because it's a great reminder.
Hey, it's Brianna, and I want to talk to you about how EEI has changed my life. Firstly, by allowing me to talk to a wide variety of professionals within a field I'm interested in, it's allowed me to see that having two very different passions, social justice and science, doesn't necessarily limit me, and it actually allows me to create new opportunities within my field. Secondly, I've learned a lot more deeply about water conservation and why it's important to our environment, and it's truly taught me that I need to implement more water conservation within my life.
The EEI internship has given me so much opportunity to learn and to grow and to be a water saver. From the beginning of the internship, I had no idea how much water I was wasting and what techniques to be able to use to, first of all, work on myself, and second, to be able to educate others on how to save water as well. I expect to be continuing to work on saving water, taking shorter showers, making sure I'm turning off that water, and educating those around me. That way, I'm able to be a water saver in my community. And from all the interns, we just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity for this. It has changed all of our lives, and we are excited to be able to use this new knowledge to go out into the world and help others. And we look forward to answering all questions that you guys have. So thank you so much for watching.